Hi, my name is Maya. What's your name?
My name is Mike Walsh.
Nice to meet you, Mike. Um, let's just start off. Where were you born?
I was born in Ottawa. It's the capital of Canada. On a Christmas Day in the 50s.
Did you grow up
So
there?
and I grew up there till I was about 40. Grew up in we would call inner city nowadays. We used to call it central Ottawa. In fact, our phone numbers at that time, you would say CE and then 5 digits. You wouldn't use all seven numbers, which was you would just say Central, and everybody knew that was CE. So yeah, I grew up in a triplex in downtown. My grandfather owned, and he lived on the ground floor, and we lived on the second floor, and there were tenants on the third floor.
What did you love most about when you were growing up?
Well, in Ottawa, I mean, there was so much to do. There's, the Parliament buildings. There's museums. We used to go Saturday. We would walk from our house downtown. Till I moved from there when I was 10. But we used to walk down to the Victoria Museum because they had movies in the morning. It was free. There's lots of, science and tech museums, and the weather's pretty good there. So there's lots of water to go swimming. Not like here; it's pretty cold, but there's no mountains there, or not very many, anyways, right around. So, and it was really had a small town feel to it. I think it still probably does. My brother and sister are there, but yeah.
That's awesome. What school did you go to when you were younger?
So I went to until we moved when I was after grade four. Went to St. Patrick's, and then moved to when we moved to the suburbs. I went to 1 year to Queen of the Angels, and then while they were building a school, because we moved into a very new subdivision, and went to McMaster for grade 6 to 8, and then high school was started in grade 9 in those days. Um, I went to St. Patrick's High School, and great in St. Patrick's, the original. When I was very young, it was just I got in a little bit of trouble in grade one when my teacher made me put. I was chewing gum, and the teacher wanted me to put the gum on my nose and stand in front of the class. So, and I didn't want to do that, so I threw a book at her, and I ran out, and I ran like 3 blocks home. So, and but my mother did stick up for me at that time. So that was,
That's
and I,
awesome.
yeah. So I was uh, one experience.
How did you get to school?
So we walked all the time. I think the only year I didn't walk was grade five because this 1 year when I went to Queen of the Angels, it was quite far away. And so we had a bus. My sister, although that was the year my sister broke her leg when we were at the sand pits getting sand for my grandfather. And sand pits is just an open area. Anybody those days, anybody could go when you take a buckets and if you need sand for the sidewalks in the winter, that kind of thing. Um, so we went there and we went tobogganing. It was in the winter time, and we went tobogganing and we went over a bump. She was on the front and she fell over the front, and this other lady, I can't remember who the other person was. We fell on her leg, and she was in quite a bit of pain. And I thought she was joking, so I was laughing, and she was yelling at me to go get my parents. So
Mm.
I got my parents, yeah. And then as we went back, they didn't think they weren't sure either. And so we went back to drop off the sand to my grandfather's. I went inside to say hello. So I got a quarter, and she wouldn't get out of the car. So she didn't get anything. And the other part was my parents took off her boots from her leg because they were just brand new, and before they knew she had a broken leg. So as a result of that, there was part of the time when we instead of taking the bus, we would take a taxi
I
to
see.
to the school. Yeah.
Come from a large or a small family?
Well, there's I have an older brother and an older sister, so I was the baby of the family, and they both still are living in Ottawa. My brother was in the fire department, retired, and my sister was a teacher for a long time in grade school.
Do you have any special memories around family gatherings?
Well, other than the normal Christmas, the big Christmas gatherings we would have, and Thanksgiving and Easter and things like that, and every uh, I think the one I would remember was we used to have and Victoria Day or the Queen's birthday we used to call it, and we would gather at that, and we would go off with the kids. We'd go off. We'd get a string. My parents would give us a piece of string, and they'd light one end. And it would be enough to light the firecrackers because firecrackers were a really big thing. Every kid had them to go around, and we throw them at each other and do crazy things like that. And you might get a burn or something, but at the end of the night, we would get the schoolhouse. So my parents would buy the schoolhouse. It was like this, and you would light it on fire, and it was sort of to celebrate, almost the end of school year. And so for us, that was a really big thing to watch the school burn down. And my mother would always say, summertime vacation was as much a vacation for her as it was for us because she didn't have to spend time helping us with homework. So so she was happy with that, and it was kind of as I mentioned, it was my sister became a teacher, and she'd always wanted to be a teacher. Even when she was young, she would line up her dolls to pretend to teach them, and so here we are burning this little schoolhouse thing, but it was that was a tradition we had that was a lot of fun, and certainly is just a memory we have. Yeah. I don't know if they
I'm
have.
assuming it's probably your favorite family tradition then.
Yeah, that would have been my favorite one. Yeah, for sure. From those days. Yeah.
How many children did you have?
So I have two boys. They're both in their late 20s. One lives here in Calgary, and the other is in Southern Ontario, and he's working in Niagara Falls and lives in St. Catharines.
Where were
Connor.
they born?
They were both born in Ottawa. So we moved here. They would have been, I think, 5 and 7 at the time. So mostly their growing up was here in Calgary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I were to ask them, what fun fact would your family recount about you?
Fun fact. They would, I think we did a lot of camping together. And so we had a lot of fun camping. Sometimes we went to, and we used to go on the long weekend in May, and almost every time it would snow and get a lot of snow in the mountains. And so one time we were sitting in near Canmore in a campground, Three Sisters campground, I think it was, and it started to snow, and it just came down. It was 4 or 5 inches, and people started singing Christmas carols at different spots in different campsites, and somebody else would join in, and so I think they would probably say we had a lot of fun. One time we were, and it's kind of one of those where you have to really be there, but we were camping in Vancouver Island, Greenpoint, I think it's called, and we were playing a game called Janitor, and it's a janitor, and then is the lowest position in the game, and then secretary, vice president, president, sort of like a business, and you have to work your way up, and you can go down playing this game, and so we were sitting there, and I managed to go from being the janitor to president in one hand, and it's really, really hard. It's because you have to, the way the game is, you have to give up your best cards in the lower position you are. And so I did this little dance like this, and the kids were quite young, and they thought this was very funny. And then, of course, they had to go to the bathroom, and of course, they had to ride their bike to the washroom. So off they went very fast. So they would probably say that. They would probably also say that he's a huge Leaf fan, and I said to my wife, I want the oldest one to be a Leaf fan. It turns out both of them are, probably with some regret, although they're also Flames fan. And they, when my oldest son was born, my friend, a friend at work, gave me a little sleeper, and it says, I'm a little Toronto Maple Leaf fan on it for him when he was born. So of course he outgrew it, and after a few months, and he said, you should get that signed. So I thought about it for a while. So I sent it off to the Toronto Maple Leafs, Cliff Fletcher at the time. This would have been like 92 or 93. Sent it off to Cliff Fletcher, and I sent a note. I sent a check for $10 and a pen, just saying, would you mind having the player sign it and return to me? And here's a check to cover the postage. And so after a couple of months, nothing happened. And the guy who had given it to me said, oh, you've lost it. It's gone now. And I said, oh, I still have hold out hope. And sure enough, another few weeks later, it came in the mail, was signed by a bunch of players, Wendell Clark, Doug Gilmore. There was a whole bunch of them on it. And very nice note addressed to my son. And so that was a lot of fun to do. I eventually had it framed, and of course when he sent it back, he sent back the check. He said, it's really nominal value, and the note said, "I'm sorry, we've lost your pen in the dressing room." So it may still be there. I don't know.
That's awesome.
So yeah, so it was. So I got it framed for him, and with the letter, and he's hanging it up at his house.
So cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Mike, for letting me interview you today.
Okay. All right.